I might be getting in trouble for this one. Nick Fuentes seemed to downplay the Epstein files and the child trafficking in it. Here's the clip.
And honestly, the pedo protector thing is really dumb. Here's the problem with Epstein. The problem with Epstein is that he is a Jewish spy. That's the problem. This whole thing, it's like, is it really? I don't want to be the one that has to say it, but I guess I'm being forced to say it. It's not really pedo, okay? They weren't trafficking 5-year-olds. It was like they were technically not legal. Big difference, in my opinion. I know that's a controversy.
All right. I kind of get what he's saying, but I completely disagree with what he's saying, but I kind of get what he's saying. So where do we even begin with something like this? We begin with caveats. Hume's is-ought distinction is going to be a helpful lens while listening to this video. So just because something's a descriptive fact, it does not make it justifiable. Just because something is biological or historical, it doesn't make it morally permissible. And just because we're explaining something, it doesn't mean we're excusing that thing. So please enter this video with that mindset. This is a serious topic, causes a lot of suffering to children. And if you're someone just experiencing any level of suffering, a nice random internet person reminder, make sure you have someone to talk to. You might not even know you're in trouble or need help until you talk to someone and they bounce back their opinion on you. So please make sure you have someone to talk to. This is going to be placed and captured on the internet. A reminder, when I finish recording, I continue living. I go on. Hopefully I learn, I grow, I evolve. So whatever I capture and publish in this video is subject to change in the future. This video is going to be for adults only. So if you're under 11 years old, you can't watch this. It's just for, I'm sorry. All right. That wasn't even funny. Bad joke, bad timing. I'm sorry I put us through that. I thought it was, all right. Anyway, terminology. We're going to talk terminology. So because of our Lord, the algorithm, I just need to play around with that a bit. So let's call the act of an adult grooming and being attracted to a minor nebonelia, just for the algorithm. And let's call the breaching of another person's body and autonomy, like through penetration, that 4-letter word, third letter P, first letter R, fourth letter E, second letter A, that word, it's a breach of a person. So we're going to use the word breach for that. So nebonelia, or whatever I think of, and breach. Definitions are important to start, but they don't make up the whole story. So what Fuentes is actually talking about, even though he's descriptively incorrect, I get what he's trying to go for here, which is most people, when they talk about nebonelia, what they're actually referring to is ephebophilia. That's the age of 15, or the attraction to the ages of 15 to 18. Hebophilia is the ages of 11 to 14, I believe. And then nebonelia is 10 to 13. Before you react and say, what is wrong with you? Why is that even relevant? I think this is what the topic of the video is going to be. Why is age relevant or irrelevant around the discussion of nebonelia? That's something we're going to be exploring today. To come to this conclusion, I've come up with 4 layers. So we all intuitively feel a disgust around this topic. It's morally reprehensible. It's disgusting. It's wrong. It gives the gut reaction. That goes without saying. I do think there is something important about being able to articulate those experiences and those feelings into a structured way. So when I sat down trying to make this video, I thought, what exactly is it about nebonelia that is so wrong to us? And I've come up with 4 layers from surface, and then we'll get to the core, the depth of it, as to why I think this is so egregious. On the 4th layer, what is wrong with it? It breaches the social contract. Adults are meant to be looking after children. In society, we have a functioning society, it has to have a good level of trust within the individuals. Not all things are spoken, but we know not to kill each other. We know not to steal. And importantly, we know to protect children. It's crazy that this is even a moral standpoint that's getting somehow grayed. Reminder, I know you know it, but society requires adults to protect children. And we'll dive a bit, as I said, further into that in a moment. Deontology. This is a philosophical lens. It draws from the Greek words deon, so duty or responsibility, and then ology usually means logos, so the study or the understanding and reasoning of something. So deontology is a good framework to approach this conversation with, and why it's so wrong as well. What this philosophy is the moral reasoning from a responsibility standpoint. That's how we find what is wrong or right, basically. Within this framework, on a social level, this is why this act is so disgusting. It breaks down the social fabric, the cohesion we have with each other, and the understanding of the world we live in is the same world as each other. We need to interact with each other. We need to interface our realities. Breaking that down, and look, there's always bad actors, but the point of this is that as a society, we need to shun antisocial behavior. We need to say stealing is bad. And to get to stealing is bad, that's that gut reaction of stealing. So anything that doesn't protect children, wrong. But this is why I've put it on a surface level, because it's a social element. It is important, but I don't think it gets to the root of what exactly about Nebo-Nelia, this age difference. What is it about the age difference that we find so wrong? A layer beneath that, I believe, is the asymmetry in power. This can be applied with a broad stroke. So in general, any asymmetry in power gets a gut reaction out of me or most people, whether it's economically, whether it's in a state of war, whether it's in a relationship. Asymmetry in power, and more specifically, imposing your will or one's will onto another individual against their will, something about that feels wrong to us if we're on the other end of that. This is why those couple years that shall not be named felt so egregious, because it was a literal breach of our bodily autonomy. It's like, hey, this is my unit, my system, back up. So we all can inherently feel a sensitivity to disgust when something foreign or a pathogen, or in these instances, a disgusting sick human being attempts to breach another individual, specifically here in the context of an asymmetry in power. To get there as well, there's like just bouncing back up to the social level. These sick individuals need to have some level of deception, and they're just completely eroding the social trust, operating like snakes in the grass. They're just moving in reality, but are deceptive and betraying who we are as humans, which is to develop and to allow our children to grow and be fulfilled human beings. So, or just to reduce the level of suffering in the world. Like, we should all be able to agree that it's not controversial to say, let's reduce suffering. So insane that this is even a topic of discussion at this point in time. But to reiterate, the social contract and fabric being torn apart, that's why this is important. A base lower is this asymmetry in power. How can we even go deeper from here? So social contract, asymmetry in power, especially with adults and children. What is it now? So, because the thing is, with an asymmetry in power, you can impose your will on another adult, but there's something especially heinous and wrong about the fact that it's a child. What is it about children that is so sickening to hear these stories happen to? If you dig deeper in this layer, we have innocence. Children relate to the world through playing. We forget that we are children. That playful nature, that curiosity of existence, that awe of a tree or a bird. Children remind us how to be human before we're socially conditioned to not be the full totality of a human being. So to morally corrupt a child when they're in their most vulnerable state, when it's your duty to take care of them, and you know you have an asymmetry in power, And to strip that away from them when that's all they are, innocence, is a reminder as to why, like in this scenario with Fuentes, it is not acceptable to say what he said. But we'll get into that shortly. Harry Harlow's rhesus monkey attachment experiment actually taps into a bit of this. Briefly, they take monkeys, baby monkeys, away from their mothers, and they put them with a mechanical mother. One of them feeds them fine, so it treats them technically okay. The other one scares them. And then there's a third one that's unpredictable in whether it's going to be kind to them or abusive. What they found is that in this third category, this randomness, the baby monkeys actually showed the most attachment to the mechanical mother. They showed higher anxiety, more dependency, and a reluctance to actually explore. Now, the thing with children and the beauty of their being is that they have this exploration. But for a child to explore and play, they need to have foundational groundings in certainty of what they know before they can actually go out and explore. Like I know where I live, and then I can explore and come back to where I live. We got to remember, as a kid, we don't know what is going on. We don't know how we're being treated. So kids we all mimic the environment around us, but we know kids absorb this like a sponge. This adds a layer of disgust when reminded that these individuals who are doing such acts are actually not only stripping away the child's innocence, but like playing on the observable biology of vulnerability and innocence. And in these events, usually there's an act of grooming. So there is a level of manufactured kindness to bring these victims in. This manufactured kindness contrasts with assault, makes the child almost more likely to be dependent on these sick individuals who are finding their way in our society. So in this instance, it's not just that it's wrong and breaching another individual, it's that it's adding a level of perversion and corruption to all that we know is good. Children are good. To corrupt that individual, that child, is why we inherently feel disgusting about this. Okay, so what do we have so far? We have a breach of the social contract and affects our social fabric, an asymmetry in power, and an imposition and breach of another individual's body, autonomy, and agency. Thirdly, we have the stripping of innocence, perversion, and moral corruption of all that we know is good. So where can we go deeper from here? To understand what I think to be the foundational layer, I want to draw an analogy or a bit of a thought experiment. If you take an older person, an elderly, and a young person, and they're both in a catatonic state, like a paralyzed state, they're both conscious, they both know what's happening, but they're having their will imposed onto them. They're having a breach occur to them. Why do we feel like it's a lot more disgusting and wrong for a child? The answer is the same reason why being asleep and being dead are different. I know, now hear me out. I know that sounds stupid, but what is it exactly about sleep and death that's different? In both instances, you're not conscious, like the lights are out. In both instances, you're not creating new memories. In both instances, you have no agency and you cannot move in the world. So what is it about sleep and death that is actually different? The difference is the potential for life. When you're dead, we know there's no potential. You're dead, it's over. When you're asleep, we know this individual will wake up or can wake up, will go on to live their life. They have the potential to exist. This draws the same analogy with an adult and a child. You are stripping the child away from the potential to have a fulfilled and developmentally healthy life that they deserve. It almost feels like a death of some sort. You've killed this child's opportunity to be a child, but to grow up as a developmentally sound person. Talking about potential, we're actually almost talking about death as well. This unrealized future and death of the child that could have been, this unrealized future and stripping away of innocence through perversion is why I put potential at the base of why I think this is such a major issue. Now, let's play a round 2 clip of Fuentes just to keep the attention here.
Bro, think he Wendell.
Huncho Greasy sent $20. How is human trafficking underage girls not part of the problem and completely immoral? Yes, Epstein being Mossad is also a big issue, but it's not the only issue. Lost me here.
Good, bye. How is that not the issue? She was 17 years old. Shut up, pussy. Fuck you. Oh, I love that. You lost me here. Bye. Good. Good riddance.
I get his position. I understand the position of ephebophilia is not the same as nebonelia. But if you're going to sit here splitting hairs over, 11 years old versus, 16 years, you're operating from the wrong moral framework. And it genuinely makes you question this individual's intent if the protection of children isn't at the forefront of their moral system. Granted, I made a joke at the start of this video, but the actual impact and the message that's being sent needs to be one of protect children at all costs. So it just feels wrong to be worrying about, 11 or 16. Granting, as you've seen in this video, I acknowledge differences in age create a difference in moral revulsion. But in this particular conversation, you've got the descriptive facts wrong. So you're incorrect. You cannot be incorrect on that level of algorithm that you have. And secondly, even if the ages were older, it is still a major issue. This is still a major issue. My main gripe with Fuentes is he's genuinely a hypocrite, and that's inconsistent. I try my best to be consistent. The same way he criticizes Candace Owens and says, she asks all these things and then she says, I'm just asking questions. What a cop-out. She says, I'm just asking questions and she gets away with it. He gets to say the dumbest things ever. And when he's pressed on it, I'm just joking. It's just a joke. You can't take a joke. Relax, man. Relax. So I find him hypocritical there. More importantly, with the whole Jewish oligarchy thing, granted, foreign bodies acting on behalf of your government, wrong and bad. But the same arguments he's using against the Jewish people, he's actually promoting himself. He says it honestly. He says identity politics. He is about identity politics. He wants a white European Catholic man to be running the show. To promote a theocracy doesn't feel like the right move, especially if you're criticizing someone for their theocratic identity politics. So far, again, I like Fuentes, or I like listening to him. He's entertaining, but there are these moral and logical inconsistencies in a lot of his arguments, which I'm going to be curious to see how these play out because, like it or not, he is on the generational run. He's actually attaining power, and it's still left to be seen if he's actually a force for good in the world or just a selfish narcissist who doesn't care what happens to other people, such as children. On a more positive note, though, you have to respect that the curtains and the blinds went up. We had personally no idea about the actual influence of foreign bodies in our politics. And anything that topples a monopoly and creates like a free market type of tension where the government has to worry about the market, which has to worry about the people. In this idea, let's talk about market as like idea space, like a ideology market space. When you triangulate these tensions, and you add another actor into it, it forces people to actually be more cautious and concerned about the optics and what might actually affect the people. So really, on a total, I think he's done more net positive just on the free speech argument alone. So not hating, I'm a fan, I can say it, but in a very loose entertainment kind of way, nothing too serious. And that's what I have to say on this topic. I will reiterate, my thoughts are subject to change. If you had a fifth layer, maybe deeper or just something that I can add on to as to why these acts are so wrong, please let me know in the comments. I do reply to everyone. So if you leave a comment, I'm going to reply to it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see more of you and I hope to make more of these. So thank you.